Most people believe they're broke because they don't earn enough. They blame their job, their boss, the economy, the government, their family background, or the country they were born into. That belief feels comforting because it removes responsibility. It says, "This is happening to me, not because of me." But here's the uncomfortable truth most people never learn. Staying broke has very little to do with how much money you make, and almost everything to do with how you think about money. There are people earning high salaries who are still drowning in debt, stressed every month, one emergency away from disaster. And there are people with modest incomes who slowly, quietly build stability, freedom, and options. The difference is not luck. The difference is not intelligence. The difference is mindset, habits, and awareness. If money was only about income, then lottery winners would stay rich forever. But most of them go broke again. If education alone made people wealthy, then every degree holder would be financially free. But they're not. What keeps people broke is a pattern of thinking they never question, never challenge, and never unlearn. From a young age, most people are programmed to see money as something scarce, stressful, and emotional. They hear things like, money is hard to earn, rich people are greedy, or we are not lucky with money. These ideas sink deep into the subconscious and quietly control decisions for decades. When someone believes money is always hard to get, they stop looking for opportunities. When they believe rich people are bad, they subconsciously avoid becoming rich. When they believe they are unlucky, they stop trying altogether. This is why two people can be in the same situation, same job, same city, same opportunities, and one slowly rises while the other stays stuck. One is thinking in terms of growth, learning, and leverage. The other is thinking in terms of survival, fear, and excuses. Staying broke is not a single event. It's a habit. It's a loop. It's repeating the same financial behaviors while expecting different results. Another reason people stay broke is because they confuse looking rich with being rich. They spend money to impress people who don't care, buying things they don't need, using money they don't have to create an image that brings them no real security. Social media has made this worse. Everyone looks successful online. Everyone looks happy. Traveling, shopping, celebrating. What you don't see is the debt, the stress, the anxiety behind the scenes. People compare their real life to someone else's highlight reel and then try to close the gap with spending instead of strategy. This is a dangerous trap. Every time you spend money emotionally to feel important, respected, or validated, you move one step further away from financial freedom. Broke thinking is reactive. It responds to feelings. Wealth thinking is intentional. It responds to long-term goals. Fear is another silent reason people stay broke. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of trying something new and looking stupid. So they stay in situations they hate because it feels safe. But safe is an illusion. A job can disappear, a business can fail, an economy can crash. The only real security is skill, adaptability, and mindset. Yet many people would rather complain about their situation than risk changing it. They would rather scroll, distract themselves, and blame the system than sit alone and ask hard questions like, why am I still here? Or what am I avoiding learning? Staying broke often feels easier than facing the discomfort of growth. And then there is patience, or the lack of it. Broke thinking wants results now. It wants fast money, shortcuts, hacks, and overnight success. That's why scams work so well. That's why people jump from one idea to another without mastering anything. Wealth is boring in the beginning. It grows slowly, quietly, almost invisibly. It rewards consistency, not excitement. Most people quit too early because they don't see immediate rewards. They underestimate what 5 or 10 years of disciplined effort can do, and overestimate what one lucky moment can change. This impatience keeps them trapped in the same cycle, year after year. If you don't learn how money actually works, how it flows, how it grows, how it disappears, you will always feel behind, no matter how hard you work. Hard work without direction leads to exhaustion, not freedom. And this is the painful reality. The world doesn't reward effort, it rewards value. If you don't increase the value you provide, the skills you own, and the problems you can solve, your income will always have a ceiling. Staying broke is often the result of staying comfortable with what you already know. From the moment you enter school, you're trained for one thing: How to be a good employee. Sit still, follow instructions. Memorize information. Pass exams. Don't question authority. Don't fail. Don't take risks. Do what you're told and wait for permission. This system was never designed to teach you how to build wealth, think independently, or understand money. It was designed to produce predictable workers who fit neatly into existing structures. And it works, just not in your favor. You can graduate with good grades, degrees, and certificates, yet still have no idea how money actually functions in the real world. You can spend 15 to 20 years in formal education and never once learn about cash flow, assets, liabilities, taxes, inflation, debt psychology, or wealth-building strategies. Then society turns around and asks why so many adults are financially stressed, living paycheck to paycheck, and drowning in debt. The answer is simple. They were never taught the rules of the game they're forced to play. School teaches you how to earn money, not how to keep it. It teaches you how to work for money, not how money can work for you. You're taught formulas, dates, theories, and definitions, but not how to read a bank statement, evaluate a loan, or understand how interest can either build your future or destroy it. You're taught to chase grades, not value, to chase approval, not ownership. So when people leave school, they do what they were trained to do: look for a job, wait for a salary, and hope it's enough. When it isn't, they blame themselves for not trying hard enough, instead of questioning the system that never equipped them with financial literacy. One of the biggest lies people are taught is that a stable job equals financial security. In reality, a job is often just a temporary agreement that can end at any moment. Companies restructure, industries change, technology replaces roles. Economic crises appear without warning. Yet people build their entire financial identity around a single paycheck. They don't build multiple skills. They don't create additional income streams. They don't learn how to leverage time, systems, or capital. They put all their hope into one source and call it safety. That's not security. That's dependency. And dependency is fragile. The moment that paycheck stops, everything collapses. Bills don't care about your resume. Rent doesn't care about your loyalty. The system taught you to rely on permission instead of capability. Another thing the education system never teaches is how debt actually enslaves people. Debt is often presented as normal, even necessary. Student loans are framed as good debt. Credit cards are marketed as convenience. Car loans are sold as lifestyle upgrades. Mortgages are pushed as milestones of success. But very few people are taught how interest compounds, how long-term repayments quietly drain future income, or how debt limits choices. When you owe money, your freedom shrinks. You can't take risks. You can't walk away from toxic environments. You can't invest aggressively. You're stuck servicing the past instead of building the future. Yet schools rarely teach debt strategy, negotiation, or avoidance. They teach you how to qualify for loans, not how to escape them. The system also fails to teach the emotional side of money. Money is not just numbers. It's behavior. It's fear, insecurity, ego, pride, and identity. People spend to feel powerful, loved, respected, or successful. They avoid looking at their finances because it triggers anxiety or shame. They self-sabotage when things start improving because success feels unfamiliar. None of this is addressed in formal education. Instead, people are left to learn through painful mistakes: divorce, bankruptcy, burnout, and regret. By the time many people understand money emotionally, they've already lost years of progress. Then there's taxes, one of the biggest expenses in most people's lives. Yet how much time in school is spent teaching tax strategy? Almost none. People are taught how to earn income, but not how income is taxed differently depending on how it's earned. They don't learn why business owners and investors often pay less tax than employees, or how legal structures can protect and multiply wealth. So they overpay unknowingly year after year, not because they're lazy or dishonest, but because they were never taught. Ignorance is expensive, and the education system is full of it when it comes to money. Another critical lesson missing from education is the concept of assets versus liabilities. People are encouraged to buy things that look successful: cars, gadgets, clothes, houses beyond their means, without understanding whether those things put money in their pocket or take money out. If it costs you every month and doesn't generate income, it's not building wealth. Yet people are praised for consumption, not ownership. They are celebrated for spending, not saving or investing. This creates a culture where people feel successful while slowly becoming poorer. The system rewards appearances, not outcomes. Schools also fail to teach how long-term thinking changes everything. Wealth is built by decisions made today that pay off years later. But the education system trains short-term thinking. Study for the exam, pass the test, move on. There's no emphasis on patience, compounding, or delayed gratification. As a result, people struggle to commit to things that don't produce immediate rewards. They quit investments too early. They abandon skills halfway. They give up on businesses at the first sign of difficulty. They were never trained to think in decades. They were trained to think in semesters. The most dangerous part is that after leaving school, people assume they are done learning. They believe education ends with graduation. But in reality, that's when learning must begin. Money changes. Markets evolve. Technology shifts. New opportunities appear. Those who stay broke often stop learning because learning feels uncomfortable. It challenges their identity. It forces them to admit they don't know something. But those who build wealth become lifelong students. They read, they listen, they observe. They invest in knowledge before they invest in anything else. They understand that ignorance costs more than education ever will. If you never learn how money really works, you will always be playing defense. You'll react instead of plan. You'll hope instead of build. You'll blame instead of adapt. And you'll wonder why no matter how hard you try, you're always one step behind. The system won't save you. It was never designed to. That doesn't mean you're doomed. It means the responsibility has always been yours. The moment you realize that no institution is coming to teach you financial freedom, something shifts. You stop waiting. You stop trusting blindly. You start seeking knowledge on your own terms. That's when the game changes. Because once you learn the rules, you're no longer a victim of them. Most people think poverty arrives loudly, through failure or bad luck. In reality, staying broke happens silently, through small daily habits that feel harmless in the moment. It's not one massive mistake that ruins financial lives. It's thousands of tiny decisions repeated over years. The coffee you didn't think about. The subscription you forgot to cancel. The impulse purchase that didn't cost much. The hours spent scrolling instead of learning. None of these feel dangerous alone, but together they form a pattern, and patterns create outcomes. Your financial future is not decided by what you do once in a while, it's decided by what you do consistently. And for most people, consistency is working against them. One of the most damaging habits is unconscious spending. People spend without awareness. They swipe, tap, and click without feeling the loss because money has become digital and abstract. There's no physical pain in handing over cash anymore, so spending feels invisible. When you don't feel money leaving, you don't respect it. And when you don't respect money, it never stays with you. Broke habits often come from avoiding reality, avoiding bank statements, avoiding budgets, avoiding honest conversations with oneself. People would rather feel temporarily comfortable than permanently secure. They don't track where their money goes because they're afraid of what they'll see. But what you refuse to look at is what controls you. Another habit that keeps people poor is spending money emotionally. Money becomes a coping mechanism. Stress? Buy something. Sad? Order food. Bored? Shop online. Feeling behind in life? Upgrade something so you feel successful for a moment. These purchases are not logical, they're emotional. And emotional spending never solves emotional problems. It just adds financial pressure on top of them. Many people are not broke because they don't earn enough. They're broke because they spend to regulate their feelings. Until that pattern is recognized and broken, no amount of income will fix it. You can't out-earn self-sabotage. Time misuse is another silent killer. People don't realize that how they spend their time is directly connected to how much money they'll ever make. Hours disappear into entertainment, gossip, drama, and endless scrolling. Days pass without learning a new skill, improving an existing one, or building something that compounds. People say they're tired, but they're tired because their time has no direction. They say they don't have time, but what they really mean is they don't have priorities. Wealthy outcomes come from boring, repetitive actions done when motivation is low. Broke habits chase comfort, not progress. And comfort is expensive in the long run. Many people also have a habit of avoiding responsibility. They blame external factors for their situation while repeating the same behaviors. They blame low pay but never negotiate or upgrade skills. They blame the economy but never adapt. They blame rich people while consuming content about luxury. This mindset creates stagnation. Responsibility is uncomfortable because it removes excuses. Once you accept that your habits are creating your reality, you can no longer hide. That's why many people reject this idea. They'd rather stay stuck than face themselves honestly. Another deeply ingrained habit is living for the short term. People prioritize today at the expense of tomorrow. They want immediate pleasure, immediate validation, immediate relief. Saving feels like deprivation. Investing feels risky. Learning feels slow. So they postpone all of it. I'll start when I earn more. I'll save later. I'll invest when things are stable. But later never comes. There is always a reason to delay discipline. Wealth is built by people who are willing to be uncomfortable now so they can be free later. Poverty is maintained by people who choose comfort now and pay for it with their future. There's also a habit of surrounding oneself with the wrong voices. People take financial advice from friends who are just as broke, just as confused, just as stuck. They normalize struggle. They normalize debt. They normalize complaining. When everyone around you is drowning, it feels normal to be underwater. But normal is not the same as healthy. Your environment shapes your standards. If your circle celebrates spending but mocks saving, you'll struggle to build wealth. If your circle laughs at ambition and calls discipline boring, you'll stay exactly where you are. Habits are contagious, and so is financial behavior. Another subtle habit that keeps people poor is refusing to track progress. They don't measure net worth. They don't review monthly spending. They don't set financial goals. They just hope things improve. Hope is not a strategy. Without measurement, there is no improvement. People are often shocked by how powerful simple awareness can be. The moment you track where your money goes, behavior starts to change automatically. But most people never do this because it forces accountability, and accountability demands action. People also stay broke because they treat money as something to react to, not plan for. They wait for emergencies instead of preparing for them. When something breaks, they panic. When bills rise, they stress. When income drops, they collapse. Planning feels boring, but it's the foundation of stability. Wealth is quiet preparedness. Poverty is loud chaos. The difference often comes down to habits formed during calm periods, not crisis moments. Perhaps the most dangerous habit of all is ignoring self-investment. People hesitate to spend money on books, courses, tools, or skills that could multiply their income, yet they have no problem spending on things that depreciate instantly. They see learning as a cost instead of an investment. But the highest return investment has always been the one you make in yourself. Skills compound. Knowledge compounds. Confidence compounds. But only if you build the habit of learning consistently. Here's the hard truth. Your bank balance is a reflection of your daily habits. Change the habits and the numbers eventually change. Keep the habits and nothing else matters. You can listen to motivation all day, but if your behavior doesn't change when no one is watching, your future won't either. The good news is this: habits are learned, which means they can be unlearned. No one is permanently broken, but change requires awareness, honesty, and patience. It requires doing small, boring things repeatedly until they reshape your identity. And that brings us to the next uncomfortable truth: your environment and the people around you. If you're serious about taking action in your life, stop waiting and start now. Hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell, because here on this channel, we bring you daily motivation, life-changing insights, and the push you need to stop procrastinating and start achieving. Don't just watch, take action, and let's rise together.